Good morning. What I'd like to do to start the morning is to ask all of you to stand up and bring the lights up, please. Now, what's so interesting about what I've heard and what I've learned about the industry being a member of the enterprise board, and even your own name, right? Words mean a lot. We all use words every day. And OFN and CDFI have a word called finance in it. And my first board I ever served on was the Hancock board. And here's an interesting story. While I'm riding up and down the elevator to the 51st floor in which I am occupied and occupying, running a $2 billion equity portfolio in real estate and real estate finance, I used to ask our chairman all the time, Steve Brown, who's in this building? What do they do on the Hancock Tower? What do we know about them? What needs do they have? How do we think about them? What's in their soul and their spirit? Now, the answer always was the same. Why do we care? They pay their rent. They pay, at the time, it was 1993, $20 a foot. Now it's $70 a foot. What makes a difference? So now what I'd like you to do is to experience me as I experienced him, and I experience all my boards around the world, as you should experience each other. I'd like you to say hello to the person next to you, as if they don't matter. I love how everybody always laughs at this opening speech, as if they don't matter. If they're not going to borrow any money, you're not going to get any money from them. There's no banking opportunity. There's no finance opportunity. There's no way to lend any money. There's no way to give any money. There's just absolutely no money. There's no show me the money. Say hello to the person next to you as if they don't matter because they're not going to show you the money. Now, most of you are cheating already. I noticed all of you are cheating already. It's sort of hard to do without showing the money, but you imagine your name says everything to me. OFN, CDFI. It's not OPN. It's not People's Network. It's not the Community Finance and People group. Right? You can take a seat. Now, we can all laugh at that experience that nowhere in our lives do people emerge. We obviously know that that doesn't make any sense because we're humans. But until recently, and I mean really recently, our children began to show us a different way of being in the world. They began to put people first and products and services and money and things second. They put access first before they put assets. They put balance first and fun first before they put jobs. Statistics are clear. So what we're going to talk about today is three things for you all to remember. What happened to the value genome, just like the human genome, over the last 20, 30, 40 years? How did the value genome change in the way we're organizing our lives? And what does it mean for each and every one of you? And most importantly, the underserved community that is the community we were intended to serve, and I will prove to you in which we have lost our way. So, in 1993, as a Hancock board member, my wife came to me as the dean of students at Harvard Medical and Dental School and asked me a simple question. Why don't guys get it? Now, for all the women in the room, what don't men get? That's correct, everything. Now, we all sort of know that intuitively, but let me prove to you how really true that is. Here she is, dean of students. I'm riding the elevator. Lori knows the story because I do the same thing in enterprise. I'm riding the elevator every day, and I'm talking to a bunch of guys. Remember, I'm a guy. 62-year-old white guy. And I'm asking the board, which I'm a member of, what is going on with these people? And they go, what do we care? They're paying their bills. And my wife's saying, I'm accepting all these students at Harvard Medical and Dental School, and the school called Harvard doesn't care about them. They don't know their names. They don't know anything about them. They know a little bit about their DATs. But they don't know their families. They don't know their backgrounds. There's no platform. This is 1993 in which we keep track of this community. And there's 30,000 people a year we don't accept, and we know nothing about them. I'm doing it on an Excel spreadsheet, she says, and why don't guys get it? And my answer was, hey, honey, Ellen is her name. Ellen, hey, get it here. I'm a guy. What are you asking me for? I have no idea what the question is to begin with. So in 1993, I started a journey to see if I could answer my wife's questions. 40 years later, in terms of looking at stuff, 10,000 publicly traded companies using machine learning, we found some amazingly sad things. First, we found that 70% of all organizations are money organizations, finance organizations. You are part of the genre. But in the same time frame, 80% of the world's value has become accruing to, and if you can get guy stuff, non-things. Now, I don't really, I pinched some of the people on my table to prove they weren't a non-thing. I'm not a non-thing. I'm not an intangible. I'm a human being. But somehow human beings are called intangibles, non-things, non-money, right? So all of a sudden, in 1975, the value of the world's economies were 80% things and money, guy stuff, toys for boys, and women's stuff were not valued. Now, luckily, 40 years later, the world has changed. And if you know anything about the human genome, there are 4 things, 4 chemicals, A, C, T, G. And they define each and every one of us. And we're only separated in this world, as much as we watch this debate, by 0.3%. 0.3%. You would think it would be 1,000% by the way we act as humans. And that's the same that separates those chemicals, are the same chemicals that define a frog or a tree or any human being, any form of living organism. Yet we would think we're that far separated from our Earth, and one of the great board members says we cut those things down because it's not a money and a thing. So what we found when we started looking at these things was, wow, there are 4 things. There are 4 chemicals in the human genome as there are in the business genome. What we have, things and money, guy stuff. What we do, labor, human stuff. What we know, thinking, intellect, insights. And who we know, heart, feeling stuff. Now, interestingly enough, the guy stuff wins around the world. It's what we measure, it's what we manage, it's what we accumulate, it's what we understand. But the economics are now really clear. They're the least valuable part of the world, and yet all of you have fallen prey to guy stuff, money and things. And yet the opportunity for all of you is 50 million, 100 million people in need, an underserved community that has no ARP. Not that ARP, which started at 65, is now down to 50. One day we'll include my kids at age 15 because they'll decide everybody should be a member of ARP. You could have an ARP for your community and give them voice. Give their spirit elevation. They know people. But let me put it in terms of things we can all understand now. People who make things like Ford and GM and GE, they're terrible, terrible, terrible companies. Let me give you the numbers. They make a car, they make an airplane motor, and for every dollar that they sell, they receive from us 33 cents on the dollar back as investors. Let me explain that to you. You go buy a house and your wife says to you, honey, that's a spectacular decision. Let me give you 33 cents back. That's the old industries we've all come to appreciate. They are terrible. They weight our economy. They slow us down. They are not respected by us as customers or investors or as employees. We don't believe in them anymore. Service providers, the financial institutions with which you do business, my old employer, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, terrible, terrible companies. They sell something for $2, and they get less than $1.50 to $2 back for all their effort. As much as Goldman is a great company, it hasn't understood that the world has moved from Wall Street to Silicon Valley, where Silicon Valley understands that what you think, not what you have, is really what matters. So those companies in Silicon Valley trade for 4 times revenues. We give Microsoft $1 of revenues, and then we as investors and employees value that at 4 times revenues. We make them even more valuable. And here's why. Because all of you are sitting in your chair. The chair's worth more than you. I know, joke not. You're an expense. The chair's an asset. But what you think, gosh, think about it. The power of what thinking is going on in this room. Spectacular. You're all thinking lots of thoughts. Anything from this guy's nuts to, my wife asked me to bring home some flowers today. I forgot to pick up the food. My children have a need. Imagine if we could collect in a platform the profound knowledge that is circulating in your heads and bring it to bear on your communities. How powerful would that be? But it took my son's classmate from Harvard, my son, how many of you saw The Social Network, the movie? Everybody remember the chicken? Well, that's a true story. My son is the president of the Phoenix when the year that Mark Zuckerberg is there too. And he introduces me to Mark and Aaron, and I'm running a big social software firm at the time in 2005, when it was called the Mark Zuckerberg Project. And I had 400,000 people on my communities for people like Goldman Sachs and Major League Baseball and ESPN. And here was Mark. Now, I knew back then I was in trouble because he understood and my clients did not the power of relationships. Now, how do I know that? Because you couldn't build a business with 1.7 billion customers if every company you can imagine that I served, from Ford to Cantor Fitzgerald to Goldman, didn't want their customers. No matter what they say, they didn't want us. So Mark Zuckerberg took us all and took all of our friends and all of our neighbors and leased them back to companies who claim the customers were first. Let me ask you a question. Does OFN or CDFIs have a social network, a platform that brings together 50 to 100 million people to rise and raise their voice? Is there such a thing if we care about community? Do we care what my wife said, or is my wife still right in 2016? Why don't people in business get it? So networks scale differently. That's Ford on the left, or your right, my left, depending how you look at it. And Google understood when they built a platform, a network that allowed all of us to find and search and see everyone else. And they grow exponentially faster. Why? Because we're all of the humankind. Let me repeat the word, humankind. Now, we forget the second half of the word, kind and kindness. We forget it. But it's still profoundly true. We're all of the same humankind with all the same letters, A, C, T, G. So we desire to connect. And any time a company comes along and begins to enable and forge and foster connection, they crush the old guy network. My wife is going to win when this is all said and done. Uber's worth twice what GM and can raise money exponentially. Airbnb is crushing the hotel network. And Amazon is forcing Walmart to close stores. And here's why. Because they empower us as human beings to do what we want to do, to be all that we can be, to bring our full selves into our lives as we want to emerge. They're maternalistic. They're not paternalistic. So let me ask for hands, please. How many of us think that the CDFIs that we have in this room are pros, like Airbnb and Uber, allowing the network to surface and share its capacity? How many of us think we're like semi-pros, like Microsoft or PayPal or Venmo? How many of us think we're like amateurs, like United Health and Accenture, just trying to begin the journey towards community building and platform? Hands up. And how many of us have no sense at all where we are in our journey towards my wife's thesis? Don't feel bad. Everybody knows I'm rushing off now to the UAE. I got an email this summertime from the Sheikh of the UAE. I don't even know where the UAE is, saying, can we reshape a nation state using your thesis? First time ever. I've been doing it since 1993. First time ever a president of a country says we need to stop thinking in silos. We can't live in a world in which countries divide us, in which continents divide us, in which religions divide us, because these platform companies are bigger than countries. There's no religion as big as Amazon or Facebook. There is not a country. When you combine these 5 countries, these 5 companies, they have treasuries bigger than any country other than the G8. In the connected world, we are just beginning to see the power of humanity emerge. Networks eat everything. They will destroy the automotive industry as we've known it. They will free up all the cars in our parking lots, just so you know our cars sit vacant 95% of the time. I know we think we're over capacity, but the truth of the matter is we haven't even touched capacity in the world yet. Our cars sit vacant 95% of the time. As gig economy, we're about 30% now. Wait till you see the full power of us emerging as individuals, of which we can finally share our passions in the world. Healthcare, my favorite discussion. 7 years ago, I got sick. I stopped walking for 2 years. I'll never forget, it was Labor Day '09. I was running a technology firm that built platforms for the biggest companies. And I said to my wife and 2 boys, I can't walk. They said, that's impossible. Dad? It's the US Open. I'm a tennis fan at the time. I'm not anymore. And I couldn't walk. For 2 years, I didn't walk. I left my firm. And I ultimately got diagnosed with a form of ALS, or some version of it, never was going to know, CIDP. And then finally, a doctor started putting me on chemo. I do chemo treatment every single Tuesday. Now, what brought me back to life is unconditional love from nurses who live in these oncology suites that are spectacular. And if you deal with oncology nurses, and if you have any experience with oncology nurses, are those women unbelievable? Every day, they give of themselves in ways no one can imagine. I had no understanding what unconditional love was. So I go to Partners, which is called Mass General, man's greatest hospital, and I ask them, anybody else have my condition in the United States or within your network that I can talk to so I can walk again? And their answer is, what would we know? We spent $1.8 billion on epic healthcare systems. We just know how to collect insurance payments. But think about it truthfully. Do any of you know the 50 million people and how they might share their best practices across your networks and lift themselves and others out of despair? I can't be the only person with this disease in the United States. I'm not. There's 3,000 of us. I'm lucky enough to be walking again. But it still takes cancer treatments every week, and yet Partners still has no platform. Hotel industry. So you're now beginning to see the beginning of transformation of industries. 5 years ago, Jeff Immelt recognized that Jack Welch may have been right, straight from the gut in the 90s, but not in the 2000s, and especially not now. So Jeff Immelt does something spectacular at GE. Imagine him with his board. He says, I don't want to be in Connecticut anymore 5 years ago. I don't know how to connect with people. I don't even know who they are. I'm going to move myself and the company to Seaport, Boston. Now, you may wonder where's Seaport, Boston. Well, Boston's like any community. It has its older parts and its newest parts. Its downtown part is made up of financial institutions. He could have moved downtown. He could have moved into Kendall Square at Cambridge, which is where the high-tech med-tech location is, health tech. But he moved to Seaport, which is this really funky place with youngsters sleeping in their office buildings in the lofts, so he could do this.
Trolling for a gig with Brain Drone? Can't blame you. It's a drone you control with your brain, which controls your thumbs, which control this joystick.
No, I'm actually over at the GE booth. We're creating the operating system for industry. It's called Predix. It's going to change the way the world works.
Okay, I'm telling my brain to tell the drone to get you a copy of my resume.
Maybe keep your hands on the controller. Oh.
You know what? I'm just going to email it to you.
Yeah, that's probably safer.
Oh, cool. That is not representative of what I can do. I just want to let you know that.
Should we call someone?
No, that's GE, a digital company that just so happens to be industrial. What ambition. What amazing foresight. You can imagine the board and CEO journey that he had to foster to get them to think like a tech company, to put digital first, to put human endeavor first, to stop talking about making things, financing things, and selling GE capital. Wow. That's the current state. You had the Atlanta Fed chair came in and said, are you up to the task of reassociating yourself with your mission? Are you up to the task of removing finance from your name? Are you up to the task of making community first and connecting the community so it can lift itself and you lift with them? Are you up to the task of letting go of your past and creating a central and connected platform in which all, and I mean the full power of whether it's 50 million, and I'm going to bet the number is closer to 150 million. And how do I pick that number? It's anybody that's house poor in the United States. And that number is going to grow unless we get a hold of the fact that people come first. So how do you do it? Once you accept the fact that people really do come first, they don't just come first because I say they come first, they don't come first because my wife says they come first. And here's the big one. It's because they're more valuable. I've just given you the economics. We use machine learning and data mining every day to look at every company in the United States on a daily basis. We look at every word everybody says. We could have never done this before. And the thesis is a simple one because Mahatma Gandhi said, your thoughts become your words become your actions become your outcomes become your destiny. You've all used words in here that make me worried. I've been sitting here all morning long. Your words betray your agendas. So let me ask a question from the audience. Lights up, please. Any of you building platforms, and why? Hands up. Yes, can you give a quick presentation of why you're building a platform? Well, what is the platform intended to do?
I'm Janine Jacobs. I'm with Partners for the Common Good. Our platform is called CapNexus. And CapNexus is, at its core, it's a networking platform. And it's for the CDFI field. It's intended to connect deals, lenders, partners, capital providers, experts and service providers to help CDFIs better get capital to communities.
Thank you very much. Hands up, please, everybody. Thank you. Any other ones, please? Yes? Reggie.
Good morning, Variant. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, we're from Impact Us Marketplace, and we are launching an online marketplace for specializing in impact investments in order to connect a range of impact investors with all the mission-based, purpose-driven organizations that are out there. We're aimed at solving some of the long-standing issues that have plagued the industry of getting to scale and preventing us from getting to scale. So we're trying to aggregate the resources that you guys bring to the table, administer them, negotiate through scale discounts, and be able to pass on 21st century security, operations, capital raise strategies for the benefit of you and for the people you serve. So we're here for people, we're here for purpose, passion, and ultimately also for performance.
Thank you very much. Hands up, please. Anybody else want to go?
Nick Elders. We're building a couple platforms, but Connect to Capital on one end, Spark on the other end. So the idea is that standardized products, services, processes, products that we all use today can be shared and leveraged by everyone in this room to basically increase the capacity of the industry, allow us all to do more together, taking the best of what we all do, publishing that out for everybody to use. I think we have a lot to go here, but that's the path and the direction forward is connecting all the various, knitting together the lending ecosystem that consists of banks, credit unions, CDFIs, other mission-based lenders, and others, with the end beneficiaries in mind, the borrowers. And so getting more capital to flow into that system is where we're headed.
Thank you very much. Anybody else before we continue? Yes, come on up.
My name is Jackie Robinson. I'm with New Jersey Community Capital, and we have built a low-income mortgage platform that links credit unions, real estate agents, housing owners who are looking to sell their houses to low, moderate income people. And the purpose of this is to create a pool of capital that is available to provide mortgages to low, moderate income people in distressed neighborhoods and also in other neighborhoods wherever they can find a home that they can afford so that they can get a mortgage in order to buy that home.
Spectacular. Now look, thank you very much. Think about this for a second. The community you represent has no ARP. I mean, it's an amazing thesis. There's 1 billion people around the world who need your help. There's no shortage of opportunity here. The only shortage is the way you think about the opportunity. There's no shortage of people who have needs. There's no shortage of service providers who want to provide services. There's no shortage of people who want to talk to each other. And for everybody who always tells me that there's no technology, they forget the statistics. Poor people have more of this than wealthy people. My son, who's a venture capitalist, went to Sri Lanka, and he said, "Dad, here I am building toilets, and they want to do e-commerce." There's more of these than there are toilets in the world. The research says these are now part of our biology. They are not technology. Biology and technology are converging. We must make this part of our journey. And as CDFIs, you all have this opportunity to be part of the air, not transactions, the air people breathe, the part of their well-being. And once you do that, you finally get to where it matters. You go from things to heart to spirit. The longest journey anybody will ever run and endure is the 18 inches between their heads and their hearts. But it's the hardest journey. It's the journey of most exception and opportunity. And then having the data that's available to inform not just the decisions of your community and of your people and of your CDFI, but of the network profoundly as a whole, that allows us to lift ourselves out of the difficulties of our past. That's our profound future. I should not have to go to Mass General to find out that they don't know who has ALS. I should be able to know and connect with them. So the end of the story is clear.
Hey there. Long time no see. Looking good.
Yeah, let's just keep this simple. I want a divorce.
What now?
I think you heard me just fine.
Come on. This is me. What's wrong?
We don't talk anymore.
I just put down $1 million on a TV commercial just to talk to you.
Exactly. You do all the talking. I never get a chance.
Talk on our website, can't you?
Sure. If I want to say, order this product.
See?
It's not exactly a dialogue.
What about the print campaign, You can't tell me you missed the billboard in Times Square. That was like a 200-foot tall declaration of love.
You're saying you love me, but you're not behaving like you love me. It's not genuine.
I don't know. The agency said I was genuinely being funny. Genuinely being charming. They said you would love everything I did.
Would you keep your voice down? You're not doing a radio commercial. Look, whether you're funny or not, it's just, I've changed, and you haven't. I mean, we don't even hang out in the same places anymore. You're not even listening, are you?
Coupons. You want coupons, don't you? Look, come by the store. I got 2 words for you. Loyalty, reduction. Am I right? That was it, wasn't it? Let's just hug.
If you knew me, you'd know I don't care about that.
Know you? Sweetheart, I know everything about you. You're 28 to 34. Your online interests include music, movies, and laser hair removal. You have a modest but dependable disposable income. Am I the only one not getting the problem here?
I'm out of here.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Look, I'll tell you what. Come back here tomorrow. I'll give you the chance to win a Bahamas vacation. There's a small chance, minuscule, but technically still a chance. Why don't you be like the old days?
Lights up, please. Lights up. Stand up, please, everybody. We started this journey about a half an hour ago with a simple thesis. We really don't know who we know. We don't understand who they are. We don't really have the data on who we serve. You couldn't tell me their names if I asked you. I'll bet you very few of us could tell who the 50 million people or 100 million people in this service population, let alone 1 billion people around the world are. Now, I'd like you to say hello to the person next to you as if for the first time they are the ones you love the most. That you never want to forget this one experience, that they really are the people of the community that we were intended to serve. Thank you all very much. A hand round of applause for all of you. I very much appreciate it.